All right, how is everyone doing today? Welcome to my channel. It's an educational channel. We check out great theories, discoveries, concepts that have been suppressed, all things suppressed, things that you would benefit from knowing about, but you don't because um, it requires a great amount of digging, and that's what I'm here for. Do some digging for you. I appreciate the Truther movement for the digs that they have done, um, but most of them have been in the 20th and 21st century. Most of them have been on particular topics, and there's a lot of other stuff out there that they have not uncovered yet, but they're going to need here in the long run. Maybe not in the short run. That's why I never started doing this until I felt like victory was secure. But now uh, we're beginning to move into the next phase. Now, people would argue that we haven't moved into the next phase, and we gotta put them in checkmate and put an end to this. But I'm moving into the next phase because you know I'm full control. I believe that these uh, they're just playing out in the media, um, as a reenactment. So I'm moving on, and I'm trying not to, cling on to what's really happening. But I do want to make some comments about some of the things that are happening that are, uh, I think, just kind of disingenuous and that kind of show, you know, uh, this makes it seem like I'm very anti, you know, patriotic or anti-American or no, I'm just I just I'm critical of that side because the other side is you can't even be critical of them because they're not even it's not even worth it to even because they're not listening and it's not even a conversation. It's a waste of your breath to even, and that's kind of what I want to get into a little bit today. This segment is called Your Blind Side, and so I just go through things that I've encountered in my daily that I think is relevant to the info war. And we had the hockey events, and the Americans won the gold in both the men's and the women's. And there's a very different dynamic about both. I just got done listening to some of the intro for the D class people, and you know, uh, with no irony, they say uh, the girls won and then the men won. you know, like um, without even recognizing that's a trigger for people. It's a trigger for people on the left. Say the girls won, the guys won, or the girls won, the women won, and the men won. But we've gotta downgrade the women to girls, but we don't downgrade the guys to guys, but we call them men. So, but just that it doesn't bother me that that's what's being said, but what bothers me is that that's being said with like no awareness of it's being said. If you want to say it to troll people or with consciousness of what you're saying, then that's one thing. But when you're just not aware of the leverage that you're using right there. Um, but the main part is that the the leftists and so on are up in arms about Cash Patel celebrating with the American hockey team and that this is a waste of money and what's he doing over there? Is he taking another vacation? Blah blah blah. These are things that people get triggered. Um, they get triggered and then they complain about it and then that triggers us. And it's like, why bother? Why even respond to stuff like that? It's just so stupid. Just do it. Just do it and don't even respond because it doesn't deserve a response. Just do it. Celebrate with them if you want, but don't pretend like when you respond, it's like you're giving them um like some type of justification or some kind of legitimacy when you respond and you say, just just do it and just ignore them. But but then the D class people just kind of uh, I don't know whether it's lazy thinking or whether they're really trolling or or that they're just they I don't know, but they're making it seem like celebrating the American hockey team is unifying, and um, and like waving the flag is unifying. There's a significant percentage of the population that is totally offended by all of that and triggered by all of it. It's not 4 to 6% either. It's way more than that. And I used to be among that number. At this point, I don't really care. I'm not gonna wave the flag myself, but it doesn't trigger me. It doesn't bother me, and I prefer that we win, or or whatever. But I'm not gonna go out and participate in it because I know the history, and the flag that we use is somewhat modeled upon the British East India flag, and which is comes from a much earlier period, way back in 1600, and you can see a portrait of Queen Elizabeth uh, in a palace in India with 13 red and white stripes and a blue background for the British East India flag. But in the blue background, there are no stars, but there is a skull and crossbones. So that's, you know, um, that is the model. So, um, it doesn't bother me, but just that uh, Dave and Rambo on there are just, I don't know if they're pretending to be that dense or that they really don't understand this on this level that like they keep calling this a unifying moment. Like we can all unify on this. And maybe 80% of us can unify on it, but um, it's not it's not a unifying moment. It just isn't. Um, there are a lot of people that get triggered by this. I used to get triggered by this kind of stuff back when the Bushes were president. Um, you'd see all these American flags. It's all there were they everybody had an American flag on their car, and you knew that all it was trying to drum up patriotism for their next war. And so that's I don't think that that's where we're headed, but that's where it can go, and that's what a lot of people associate it with. Even I think some people who are now like me, um, just revolted by the leftist terrorists out there. That these people, but and then they showed a clip where they're like, um, they play Leonard Skinner's Freebird in its entirety, just about the long version, and just that's triggering. That is not unifying. There are people that are triggered by that. For me, like I actually just don't like that song. I do like quite a few of Leonard Skinner's other songs. I remember when they died in the plane crash, the Van Zants, and I even liked the Rosington Collins band that came out afterward. you know, don't misunderstand me. And there's a lot of uh, Leonard Skinner songs that I like. Um, but Freebird has just been utterly overplayed, and I just don't like any type of anthems like that. Um, and they're like, yeah, well, they went out on the to Miami, and you know they listened to "I'm proud to be an American." Like they think that that's not triggering a great percentage of the population, and that's a unifying thing. They must be lying to themselves, and that kind of lying to themselves is the same kind of loose logic that they use to justify Christianity. You know, it's like they haven't dug into it enough to um, recognize that this is not acceptable. This is not something that um, I think the gas people are here or something. Hopefully, it's not anything more serious than that. But um, it, this is not acceptable as a unifying thing. Now, if you want to just come out and say, we don't care about unifying, we're just going to ram it down your throat, I'd be much more receptive to that, because it's not it's not a majority of the population that's getting triggered. It's a minority of the population, but significant minority, and it's the population that is a bunch of complainers and a bunch of people who have no clue about what's going on, and don't see the big picture whatsoever. But at the same time, just to pretend that these are unifying moments, it is you're not being honest with yourself, because it isn't. It's you're triggering the other people. And I guess maybe for me, I'm trying to move on. I'm trying to move beyond this info war, because I recognize that we're in big trouble, even when we win. If we try to march into the golden age future with Christianity in tow, that's not going to work, because it's not true. Um, it was written by the Romans. It's an obvious psychological operation, just like everything else is. And if you think that the Romans are going to allow um, some type of um organic religion to uh, be published and disseminated in their empire at that time, you're not really paying attention to trends in history. And even Mike King is he even says it, but he ignores it. He talks about the Shroud of Turin, and he talks about how Josephus and Tacitus corroborated the existence of Jesus. Uh, yeah, well, they're Romans, but but at the same time, he'll tell you none of these so-called organic, um, you know, grassroots movements ever happened. Well, what do you think Christianity was? It was a, manufactured so-called organic grassroots movement. So they just need to be able to apply their same standards across the board, instead of just um, applying them when they benefit from them, but just kind of um, ignoring them, and then even just getting into their emotions and getting defensive when they uh, when they try to apply them, and giving up on logic and reason when they try to apply these things to things that they're opposed to, or things that cut against their grain. You know, you can hear the conservatives talk about how the leftists are so emotional and they get triggered so easily and they get off, uh, off reality because they allow their emotions to sway them. But if you start getting into religion and patriotism and the true nature of those things, um, and recognizing that all of it is fake, they get triggered and they stop paying attention to rationality. So we've got a lot of work to do, and so that is today's episode of Your Blind Side. I think today was number 13, maybe number 12. Um, but that is what we're doing here. And I'm still having a little bit of trouble because I've started really two new episodes: the Q-tip of the spear and Your Blind Side, and I'm having a little bit of trouble distinguishing the two. One is supposed to be about the podcasts that I watched on the daily of the people that I feel that are on the tip of the spear, and that's why I'm critical, is because these people that I'm watching, these are the people that I respect the most. These are the people that I feel are doing the best, and they're still, you know, I mean, you can always criticize everybody, so I don't want this to make it seem like this is a overall criticism. It's just, a particular thing, and but it does have wider applications, and it does have the potential to rear its ugly head. So if we can nip it in the bud, hopefully we can do that. Um, but the Your Blind Side is supposed to be more about just what I encounter in my daily research, as opposed to the info war, but how it can, how things that I encounter in my daily research, how I can bring those to the table and hopefully shed some light on our blind sides, the things that we're not paying attention to, the things that we, um, that maybe aren't going to affect us right now, but things that we are going to need to shore up in the future. And I think just the main point is that if we think that we're going to waltz right into the golden age as is, with all of our beliefs intact as they are right now, we are dreaming. There is a hell of a lot of more digging that needs to be done. And we need to dig ourselves out of this. And so there's absolutely no space to kick back and, you know, get popcorn. Um, Now, even for somebody like me who's full control, who thinks that this is already over, maybe I don't care about, uh, whether there's an election or whether I think that all of that's done. But what I need to do is I need to make sure I stay in shape. I need to make sure that I'm doing my meditations. I need to make sure that I keep my mind clean. I need to, attempt to, um, you know, shock myself out of some of the belief systems that I might have. I need to recognize that I might think that I'm awake, but there's probably a lot of things that I'm not awake to. Those are the things that we all need to do, that we can do just on our own. It doesn't mean that we have to run for office or start a podcast or even, engage with our next door neighbor or our family member and try to convince them of something. Um, I think just the internal cleanse is really what we really need to be doing, so that we are ready for the new age when we get there. Because I don't think that what we're really doing right now is readying us for that. We've gotten too comfortable because we're winning. Uh, we're winning by a lot, and so I think that we are resting on our laurels, and that's going to lead to total failure. So hopefully that is twice as long as what I wanted it to be. But like, share, subscribe, comments, and remember to watch your blind side.